Hello, my beautiful friends, and welcome to Breaking the Silence. I'm Renee.
And I'm Kelly.
And isn't this like such a fun surprise to actually have Kelly here in person next to me? So fun. So anyways, this is like just sort of a special treat that you get to have the two of us here together. But if you are new here, we are so glad that you are here with us. Before we jump in, go grab your favorite cup of coffee, tea, or whatever makes you feel all cozy. Get comfortable, settle in with us for a while, and let's just have a conversation. Basically, just sort of picture Kelly and I sitting across the table from you. No judgment, no shame. We've got our coffee. And just honest conversations that help us heal. So, today, we're going to be talking about one of the questions we hear more than almost any other, and that is, why do dismissive avoidants pull away? If you have ever been in a relationship with someone who seemed completely invested one day and emotionally unavailable the next, you've probably asked yourself this question over and over. You most likely replay every conversation. You wonder what you did wrong. You try harder. You give more. You become even more patient with them. And somehow, they seem to get even further away. Today, we're going to talk about what's actually happening beneath the surface. And it's not to excuse unhealthy behavior, not to convince you to wait for someone who isn't showing up, but because understanding creates clarity. And clarity helps us stop blaming ourselves.
Yeah, I think that's one of the hardest parts is when someone pulls away, our brains immediately make it about us.
Mm-hmm.
It's so personal. Like, did I say something wrong? Am I asking for too much? Was I too emotional?
Exactly. I'm curious, Kelly, when you hear people ask that question, what do you think like they're really thinking, like even underneath and all?
Honestly, I think they're trying to figure out how to fix it. Like, I think you go in, like you kind of spiral, like that fixation mode, you know,
Mm-hmm.
or how to fix themselves so the person won't leave. Because I think you just take it personal.
Oh, yeah. And I think I very much can relate to this because when I first, I would say before I knew my attachment style, I very much would spiral and make it very like personal and like or not even just so confused, like what is going on, you know? And then once I learned it, then it became more the cycle of like, okay, well, now I'm learning this about me. Maybe I can show up differently.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't ever necessarily about fixing them. Like, I felt like for the first time, like it all made so much sense to me that then I could show up differently and just meet them where they were at, love them fully how they were. It wasn't about like me trying to fix them or me trying to change them. I was just trying to show up differently. I'm healing my wounds, and if I show up differently, it'll make it safe for them to feel like then they can heal, you know?
Yeah.
But I think that what really ultimately happened, and this is what I would encourage listeners, if they are not aware and they are not wanting to actively work to heal their wounds, the pattern just continues. It's the cycle just... Because one person can't do it all, you know?
Right.
It's a two-person thing.
Yeah.
And most people don't understand that dismissive avoidance, it isn't usually about not having feelings. honestly, I think they care deeply, to be quite honest. It's about what closeness feels like inside their nervous system. So I think it's important for us to start there. A dismissive avoidant often learned early in life that depending on people wasn't safe. Maybe emotions weren't welcomed. Maybe they had caregivers who they themselves were emotionally unavailable. Most likely that is the case, I mean, maybe they learned that vulnerability led to disappointment. So they adapted. They started to think, I'll take care of myself. I don't need anyone. I'm better off alone. That adaptation helped them survive in their childhood. But survival strategies don't always work well inside of healthy relationships. Here's the thing that I think people misunderstand. They don't usually pull away because they suddenly stopped caring. They pull away because closeness starts to feel uncomfortable. The more emotionally connected the relationship becomes, the more their nervous system begins interpreting intimacy as pressure. And not because love is dangerous, because vulnerability feels dangerous.
And that's such an important distinction. And again, when we do these podcasts, it just makes so much sense, because I feel like even for myself, like some of those things, I'm like, check, check, check.
Mm-hmm.
Like I relate to that even now with what I feel like some of my healing still. And you're just like, and I think this is so important for people to almost, not have a diagnosis, but almost to be like, because I think when you have these feelings, you can almost feel crazy.
Right.
Because you don't understand it. You're like, I don't understand why I care about somebody so much, but then the vulnerability makes you want to pull away and you're just like, it doesn't make sense.
Well, I think because, it's all those things of like, when you don't know, you think, I'm just weird. I'm difficult. What's wrong with me? I don't know how to do relationships. This is just hard for me. Like all those stories, all those things that we feel like in ourselves, like, I just don't even know. I'm like, I've got issues, just all the things, And I think that when you then know about this and know like, oh, it isn't a diagnosis. It's not like it's something medically wrong with you. It is just what you've learned. It is. So if it's something that you learned, then oh, well, I can learn something different too,
right.
Awareness is where then we can start to like challenge those things and not feel so alone. And like, I'm just weird. I don't know what's wrong with me. Like, I know I'm difficult, like all those things,
right. Yeah.
So think about someone who's afraid of heights. And I actually have a child that is afraid of heights. And so like this just so resonated with me thinking of him. Like think about for them standing on that first step of the ladder, it feels manageable, like that's no big deal to do the first step. But the higher that they climb, the more their body reacts, and just, I mean, if you even just sit and sort of think about the feeling of that, we all know that feeling of like, where like you start to feel like the anxiousness of like your heart's racing, if it's like you're climbing higher or whatever it is that scares you,
It takes that safety away from you.
Yeah.
If you're like first or second, you're like, if I fall, I'm not going to get that hurt.
Right.
But if I'm up at the top,
right,
and I fall.
Yes. And that's what this is like for them, So the higher they climb, the more the body reacts. And the ladder is not attacking them. The ladder's just the ladder. Just like the person in the relationship isn't attacking them. It's what it's the fear inside from what they feel, you know?
Yeah.
So the nervous system is sounding an alarm in them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think about, like I said, I have a child that's afraid of heights, and just recently went to an amusement park and riding all the big roller coasters and all the things.
Mm-hmm.
And I can just literally envision everything he was probably feeling as he was facing those fears, you know? And I'm so proud of him.
Yeah.
Because he did face those fears anyways, instead of saying, nope, I don't do that.
Right.
You know, like I'm sure his hands were sweaty, his heart was racing. And with every roller coaster, it got a little bit easier for him.
Mm-hmm.
There was one he still said, no way.
I don't blame him.
But he rode pretty much everything. So yeah, their nervous system is sounding an alarm. And that's often what intimacy feels like for a dismissive avoidant.
Mm-hmm. It makes total sense. So, and those are such good analogies because so then you're like, okay, well, all I have to do is step off the ladder. I'm safe.
Right.
I'm just not gonna ride another roller coaster. Then I'm safe. But at that, the joy that you can get from, like, say you climb to the top of the ladder and you see a great view.
Mm-hmm.
It was worth that climb. Or like your son ended up having, because he went outside of his comfort zone, he probably had a really great time to not let that fear. Maybe.
Yeah, like really, yes, no, yes,
Yeah.
right. Like I asked him, I was like, so would you do it again? You know,
Yeah.
you go, and he was like, yeah, I totally would.
Yeah.
And like really think about that. Like you just said. So isn't that exactly like, so say for the avoidant, they get on that first step and it's okay there.
Mm-hmm.
But then as they move up and they're starting to get scared,
Yeah.
they step back off, right? To
Right.
safety.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, like if you do keep going and growing your capacity to be in relationship,
Mm-hmm.
it's like the roller coaster where my son did get to see the view of the whole amusement park and like, wow, this is incredible.
Yeah.
And like the relationship, like if you just keep going to be able to be like, wow,
Mm-hmm.
this is what healthy relationship is like. This is beautiful and amazing. And like to experience that with somebody, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But they get scared. They don't push through and they get scared and they step off the ladder.
Like, I'm just going to throw that ladder in the garage. Get down, throw it in the garage.
I'm better off without the ladder. I don't need that ladder.
I can see good from here.
This view right here is perfect.
I'm going to stand on my tippy toes.
So anyways, the alarm then gets louder as the relationship deepens. And here's where things become confusing. In the beginning of the relationship, dismissive avoidants often seem incredibly interested. They text, they pursue, they're affectionate, they're present, they're attentive. They make you feel special. People think, see, they can be emotionally available. And yes, they can. Because early dating still has distance to it, you know? There's still the mystery.
Mm-hmm.
There's freedom. There's less expectation. Real intimacy hasn't fully arrived yet. But eventually,
It's coming.
it's north. Life becomes more connected. Conversations become deeper. Commitment increases. And the relationship starts requiring emotional consistency. And that's often when the pull away begins. So let's talk about some of the most common reasons. The first one, they feel overwhelmed by emotional intensity.
Mm-hmm.
If every conversation feels emotionally loaded, if conflict lasts for hours, if they constantly feel responsible for someone else's emotions, their nervous system often shifts into protection mode. Again, that doesn't automatically mean that the other person is too much. Sometimes both nervous systems are triggering each other. An anxious partner reaches for reassurance. The dismissive partner experiences that reassurance as pressure. The anxious partner senses distance and reaches even harder. And then the dismissive avoidant partner withdraws even farther. And now both people are activating and reacting instead of connecting.
Mm-hmm. That's a cycle so many people are living in without even realizing it.
Well, because I think like a lot of times if you don't learn about attachment theory, and I think many people go their entire lives without learning about it, obviously.
I think if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't know.
Right.
And I still chase my own tail. So yeah, without you, I think I would be like, I would just, this is not that I just go like, oh, this is just who I am. You know, it's not that I never want to be a better version of myself, but I don't think I would know what tools to, lack of better words, fix it.
Right. Or to use to start to change the behavior. Yeah, absolutely. And I very much believe that most of the time it isn't who they want to be. They wish they were different, you know, but again, they don't have the tools. They don't know. They're not sure how to fix it. And so I think it very much becomes the thing of like, this is just who I am. I'm never going to change. And yeah, I think that is a huge part of it. And like, you shouldn't like, I actually had someone reach out to me and she is going through, unfortunately, divorce from a dismissive avoidant. And his thoughts are, he can see some of his patterns, but he also is basically like, I'm who I've always been, and it is wrong of you to ask me to change. And isn't that interesting? Like, I very much like can relate to like, I wanted to like show up for somebody and say, I fully see who you are and love you exactly how you are, your flaws and all. But also know that it isn't wrong at some point to say, but the things you're doing, like, no, I don't want you to, like, I love who you are.
Right.
But also, some of the things you're doing are really hurting me. And that's not wrong of me to say what you're doing is hurting me. It's for her to say that, you know, like, what you're doing is hurting me. So yes, I do want you to change those behaviors because I'm not going to allow you to keep hurting me, you know?
Yeah. No, I agree.
So I think that's like a really good thing for you to bring up. And so I don't think either person is wanting to hurt the other. They're both just trying to feel safe in what, like you said, if they what they know, if they haven't learned about attachment styles and all that. So they're both trying to feel safe, and they're just using completely opposite strategies. Another reason, dismissive avoidants often value independence above almost everything else. Needing someone can feel really uncomfortable.
It's a blessing and a curse, I think, to be so independent. And I guess I could never say where that stemmed from. You know what I mean? I'm just a very independent person. It's not always the best.
Right. And I don't think it's necessarily so important to like go back and analyze every bit of our childhood and figure out where everything came from.
Yeah.
I mean, great. If you do stumble across it, if you do have epiphanies, I know what I was going to say that we will go back to. If you do have epiphanies, that's amazing. That might come along the journey. But what really matters is not necessarily where it stemmed from or what happened. What happened. We can't change that, you know? All we can change is the behaviors that we've learned, you know, to do something different. And you were talking about addiction a little bit ago, sort of like how it's like addiction. And I had this epiphany of like my drug of choice. Instead of my drug of choice, basically my relationship of choice has pretty much always been dismissive avoidance.
Right.
And I mean,
Good choice.
way to go, Renee. And it's interesting because I, like just, searching myself, some self-reflection that's super important.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why has it always been what I've been more drawn to?
Mm-hmm.
And it really came down to because, I'm fearful avoidant. So I have that avoidant part of myself too.
Yeah.
It came down to if I pick a dismissive avoidant, I don't have to show up. I can show up just to my level of comfort, basically,
Right.
because they're not going to ask me to go deeper. They don't want to go deep. So it kept me from having to be vulnerable,
So very strategic. Yeah.
This works perfect. We don't have to go super deep, just to where I'm comfortable. And I know, like, looking back now, I'm like, oh, like, that kept me from having to be vulnerable,
Yeah.
I mean, I was clearly probably more vulnerable than they were.
Right.
But still, like, I didn't ever have to worry about, like, them asking, like, well, I'm really deep in conversation or anything like that.
Yeah.
And I could also keep it more focused on learning about them and not exposing myself.
Yeah. Because they were never going to be like, what are you feeling?
Yeah. Like, tell me about your childhood.
Talk about the independence, I guess, like you were saying, yeah, it's not like I want to, like, who can I point the finger to for that? But I just always thought that's who I was. But within this, I'm kind of like, I myself, just with private reflection, can kind of be like, oh, I think I know where that, it wasn't just like, it's just in my DNA, which it could be. I mean, I could just be, that's just who I am. But then I can kind of be like, it's almost to a detriment sometimes.
Right.
And so that's something, and it's still very hard for me to work on.
Mm-hmm.
It's still very hard for me to, it just feels like going against the grain. It's like, do you need help? Nope, I'm good. Are you sure you don't need help moving that couch? No, I got it.
But that's perfect that you said that. It feels like going against the grain. That is what all this feels like.
It does. Yeah. It feels unnatural.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because it's unfamiliar.
I like it. I'll like it 1 minute.
Exactly. Like, but that's the point. So if it feels like you're going against the grain, then you're probably onto something of like, I'm changing behaviors, right?
Yeah. You feel like you're getting splinters. Let's go the other way.
And if it feels comfortable and like, this is a nice smooth ride, well,
yeah,
maybe you need to question, like,
right.
So sort of, I know we got off a little bit, but so basically, like I said, another reason is dismissive avoidants do value their independence, like we were just talking about so much, and needing someone can feel super uncomfortable. So when they notice themselves becoming attached, they sometimes create distance to regain a sense of control. They very much like control. They very much don't like to be attached too, And so they'll throw themselves into work. They'll spend more time alone. They'll find things to keep themselves busy. They become harder to reach. And not because they necessarily want the relationship to end, because distance temporarily lowers their internal anxiety. Alrighty. And so then another common reason is conflict feels threatening. Many dismissive avoidants didn't grow up learning healthy repair.
Mm-hmm.
And I can very much relate to this. I don't know if you can, Kelly, like, do you feel like your family, like in your family dynamics, like they taught you how to repair after confrontation or?
Not really. I mean, I know there might be conversations or like talk something out, but I feel like maybe a lot of things kind of just like swept under the carpet.
Yeah, for sure.
And you just keep it moving.
Yeah. I think that's exactly how it was for me growing up. Never learning that you can come back and like talk it through and say, I'm sorry. Like never learning what it looked like to actually repair after. Like it just, everybody just ignored whatever happened. Yeah. Like there was a blow up,
Mhm.
there was a fight, whatever, and then everybody just ignored it.
Like you're on the treadmill, you fall off, and you just get back on.
Yes.
And you're like, okay, nothing happened.
Let's keep on with the rat race. So yeah, I can really relate to that. And conflict to them often meant criticism.
Mm.
So it wasn't even like it was a healthy conversation. Maybe it felt like they were maybe it feels to them, or felt when they were growing up, or even now, like they're being attacked and they can't do anything right. And so you're just trying to talk about how you feel, but they are feeling like defective and I can't do anything right. And why do I even try? And I'm just going to disappoint you. Like all those things. I always disappoint people.
Right.
All those things. So, and then they feel the shame. Like, so with that conflict, with them also feeling the criticism, then comes the shame,
Mm-hmm.
the chaos, or the emotional shutdown.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of leaning into difficult conversations,
Mm-hmm.
they often leave them.
Right.
They often become quiet. They avoid texting back. They disappear emotionally. Not because silence solves anything, because avoidance temporarily reduces discomfort. I mean, it does. If you avoid it, you don't have to feel the discomfort of it.
Right. Like it's a breather.
Yeah. Yeah. But here's something people don't talk about enough. Avoidance does work. At least in the short term.
Mm-hmm.
If you avoid conflict, if you avoid difficult emotions, you don't have to feel them right now. And that's why the pattern becomes so deeply wired. This next reason is so important. And just actually, before we even go on to this next reason, I'm just thinking about this more. It's so true. That is why it does become so deeply wired. And it's so easy for people to just not even want to feel that discomfort of having that conversation, just avoiding it. And I can attest to this as thinking about growing up, because I never learned healthy repair.
Mm-hmm.
I can remember if my dad said, "Hey, can we talk?"
Mm-hmm.
That sent off warning bells in my body. Nothing good was, oh my gosh, yes.
Okay.
So I get how it can feel so scary to have conflict. But I think because also for me in childhood, conflict was not good.
Mm-hmm.
With my parents, it was physical.
Right.
So that's what I see. For many years, that's what I seen conflict, why you would want to avoid it too. You know? Yeah. Growing up, what that looked like for me, of why I always wanted to avoid conflict too. I'm very much have been a person to not want conflict and to not speak up for myself, and hence the reason the podcast, again, learning to use my voice, speaking my truth and having these conversations and not shutting down all that. So
yeah, that makes complete sense.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty, so let's get back on track. So many dismissive avoidants don't always recognize what they're feeling. And this is why I'm saying this is so, so, so important.
Mm-hmm.
I think this surprises a lot of people because they may notice irritation. They may notice within themselves exhaustion, being frustrated, the restlessness, wanting space. But underneath those emotions might actually be fear.
Mm-hmm.
Fear of disappointing someone. That is a huge one for them. They just feel what's the point? I'm going to disappoint you anyways.
Right.
Fear of losing themselves. Fear of failing. Fear of needing someone.
Mm-hmm.
Fear of being enough.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't identify those emotions yourself, how can you communicate them?
Yeah.
So really, when you ask a dismissive avoidant, like, or even a fearful avoidant that's leaning into their avoidance, when you ask them like how they're feeling about something or what's coming up for them or whatever, they might say, I don't know.
I'm fine.
Yeah, I'm good. I mean, really, they will a lot of times say, I don't know.
Yeah.
And they are being for real.
Yeah, that's the truth.
Because they haven't identified those feelings inside themselves. So if they can't identify it inside themselves, like what's going on in them,
right?
How can they communicate it to someone else?
Yeah.
So instead, they withdraw.
Right. Yeah, that makes so much sense.
It really does when you think about it. And Kelly, do you think like that lack of awareness is something that people can change? Or do you think like, we just talked about this a few weeks ago that you said you felt like somebody just finally, you had a relationship that they finally just said, we're done. And that you thought that they just finally was like, I am who I am. And that's why they finally left and was like, I can't keep doing this to her. So do you think people can change with awareness? And
yeah, but I think like with anything, you have to want it. And sometimes the uncomfortableness or failed relationships and stuff like that maybe feels easier than doing the work. The work is hard. So yeah, I think if you really want to be a better version of yourself, show up differently in relationships, friendships, all that. Yeah, I definitely think you can. You just have to. I mean, it's like with anything, addictions, any of that. You have to want it. You got to put the work in.
Right.
And it's hard.
It absolutely is.
You pull back the curtain on yourself. Sometimes you don't want to see what's behind the curtain.
Yes. And I was going to say, and that is very common for avoidance. They do not want to be fully seen.
Yeah. It's like the Wizard of Oz. Just let me stay behind the curtain.
Because what they believe is like, if you fully seen me, you wouldn't love me.
Yeah.
You wouldn't want to be with me if you really seen what's on the inside.
Yeah.
So here is another big one. Many dismissive avoidants unconsciously begin focusing on their partner's flaws. And we've talked about this before, but I feel like it's still important to come back to it. This is called deactivating strategies. And their brain starts creating reasons that the relationship can't work, you know?
It's not me, it's you.
Yes, absolutely. You know, like they're going to start to say things like, they're too emotional, they're too needy, we're too different. It would never work. I've lost feelings. Sometimes those concerns are legitimate, but sometimes they're simply the nervous system trying to justify them creating distance. Because if the relationship feels imperfect, leaving feels easier.
Right. Takes the burden off yourself.
Yeah, like it's like you're gathering evidence, like, see, this is why I need to leave. But like, it just makes sense.
Yeah.
And it really does make sense if you think about it. Like, if you can say, I don't love you, or we're not right for each other, then it makes sense to them why to leave the relationship.
The validation.
Yes. You're validating it. Yes. Like, I don't love you. We're just not right for each other. So, of course, like, this only makes sense for us to end it.
Right.
And here's something very important to say with that. Not every person who needs space is a dismissive avoidant.
Right.
Healthy people ask for space too. The difference is what happens afterward. Healthy partners usually come back. They communicate. I mean, we've talked about that. We have to take time sometimes. If I can tell it's getting intense, we have to take some space to get ourselves regulated, but we come back. They communicate. They repair. they stay emotionally engaged. Dismissive avoidance often becomes a repeated cycle of closeness, distance, closeness, distance, without meaningful repair. And that's the exhausting part. There has to be repair to have any kind of healthy relationship. You can't just pretend nothing happened. So let's also answer another question we hear all the time, and that's, if they loved me, wouldn't they stay? Love and emotional capacity are not the same thing. Someone can love you deeply and still lack the emotional skills to sustain a healthy relationship. Love isn't always the missing ingredient. Emotional safety, self-awareness, healing, communication, those matter too. You need all of those for a healthy relationship.
And I wish more people understood that. And even with that, don't you think, I mean, it's just like a recipe. Because you and I had this conversation where I was told sometimes love isn't enough.
Right.
And you're like, it's not. Because you need all those other ingredients.
Absolutely.
And maybe within having all those, that's how that love grows even more. To feel safe and connected.
For sure. Like, what would you say, Kelly, to someone that's been holding on because they believe love should be enough?
I guess it's not. Again, I was told that. And I mean, it's like a punch to the gut, because you feel like, what? What do you mean love isn't enough? But yeah, I mean, just like we were talking about, it's really not, you know? You need all those other components that I think make you feel loved.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you can love someone deeply. And if those pieces aren't there, it isn't enough.
Yeah, like missing pieces to a puzzle.
Yeah.
It's never gonna be complete.
Yes, I was going to say, that's perfect. The analogy of the puzzle is perfect, because here's this love piece, and yeah, maybe that's the core of it, but we need all those other, and you have this incomplete puzzle because you don't have the other pieces to it that make a healthy relationship.
Right.
So that is like so perfect, because I think so many people need to realize that, because they might spend years trying to earn consistency from someone whose nervous system isn't prepared to offer it. And that doesn't mean that they can't learn those things. And we're going to get into that here shortly. But here's where I want to gently challenge our listeners. If you've been chasing someone who keeps pulling away, can I ask you something? Have you become so focused on understanding them that you've stopped asking yourself how their behavior is affecting you? Because while it's helpful to understand dismissive avoidance, understanding should never become self-abandonment. And we talked about this. I can relate. I can relate to like wanting to understand them so much, but there comes a point where you can't abandon yourself at the same time, you know?
Yeah, you end up losing yourself.
Yes. It's okay to have compassion, and it's okay to also have boundaries. Both can exist at the same time. Someone else's wounds explain the behavior. They don't excuse repeated emotional harm. And it's like that quote, you know, like, if you don't heal from what hurts you, you bleed on people who didn't cut you.
Absolutely.
Healing isn't convincing someone to choose you. Healing is learning to choose yourself while leaving the door open only for relationships built on mutual effort. So, here's where I want to go with this now. If you're the dismissive avoidant listening today, this episode isn't about blaming you. It's honestly about hope. And I really hope that you hear that. Attachment styles are not life sentences. People heal. People become more emotionally available. People learn how to repair. People learn vulnerability. But healing starts with awareness. When you notice yourself pulling away, instead of asking, how do I escape this relationship? Try asking, what emotion am I avoiding right now? That single question can begin to shift everything.
Absolutely. I think that's very powerful. And I think that's really important to say too.
Yeah, I think it is. Kelly, what do you think healing looks like for someone who's used to pulling away?
Not running away.
I was going to say, can you relate to this question?
Yeah.
So this is...
Yeah, not running away. And I don't know why, like, my thought just went to Michael. Like, this will make me emotional about her. Just like,
a run.
Yeah, run to the hard. And it's hard.
Mm-hmm.
It's really hard.
Yeah, I think she nailed that so beautifully. If that is really what it is, to continue to choose to run to the hard.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Because healing doesn't happen by pretending we don't need people. It happens when we learn that safe relationships don't require us to lose ourselves. They invite us to bring our whole selves. When the person sees all of the parts of us and they still choose us, you know? That's what secure love looks like. It isn't perfect. It isn't conflict-free. It isn't intense all the time. It's consistent. It's honest. It's safe enough for repair. And that's what every one of us deserves. I just want to thank you so much for spending time with Kelly and I today. If this conversation resonated with you, we'd love to know. Tell us in the comments what stood out the most, or share your own experience. We read every one of your comments, and many of our future episodes come from the questions you ask. If you know someone who's trying to understand why a dismissive avoidant keeps pulling away, share this episode with them, please. It may give them clarity and help them stop blaming themselves. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe so that you don't miss a future episode, future conversations about attachment, healing, relationships, grief, and emotional health. And of course, all Kelly's amazing little nuggets of wisdom that she shares.
My street wisdom.
Yes. As always, we send you off with so much love, and we will see you next time on Breaking the Silence.